Welcome. This lesson is for BSc first semester students. The lesson is from Animal Diversity of Invertebrates. The topic is Type Study of Elphidium. With the help of this lesson, the learners will know and understand classification of Elphidium, its habit and habitat, structure of Elphidium, the shell of Elphidium, its dimorphism, that is megalospheric form and microspheric form, and the physiology of Elphidium, the various processes that occur in Elphidium like nutrition, locomotion, excretion, osmoregulation, then reproduction, life cycle of Elphidium and its economic importance. Some protozoans are enclosed in shells and they are not naked. The shell is either secreted by its own cytoplasm or it consists of some foreign material like sand pieces, pieces of shells of other animals, spicules, etc., which are incorporated into a matrix of cytoplasm which is secreted by the animal itself. So the shell-bearing animals, mostly they belong to the order Foraminiferidae. So the foraminiferans will have many chambers in the shell and they have minute perforations throughout the shell, and from these perforations fine pseudopodia emerge out, and these foraminiferans when they die, the shell will it sink to the ocean floor and forms a sediment called ooze. Globigerina, a genus, is well known to form a specific ooze at the bottom of the ocean floor at a depth of 3,500 to 4,500 meters. So the extinct shell protozoans can be studied with the help of their shells. One such foraminiferan is Elphidium. It is also known as Polystomella. So this Elphidium is a typical representative of dimorphic forms. It exists in two forms, namely megalospheric and microspheric forms. Let us see the classification of Elphidium. Elphidium belongs to the phylum Protozoa, subphylum Sarcomastigophora, superclass is Sarcodina, class is Rhizopodia, subclass Granuloreticulosa, and order is Foraminiferida. The genus is Elphidium and species Crispum. So this Elphidium crispum is the most common species of Elphidium, and let us study in detail about this species. Now let us see about habit and habitat of Elphidium. Elphidium is a marine organism. It lives in oceans and seas, usually in the littoral zone of the sea down to a depth of about 300 fathoms. And it also lives in brackish water. It is free swimming, that is, it leads an independent life. The Elphidium is seen creeping on the seaweeds and on algae. It is light yellowish in color and it can be seen with the help of the naked eye. It practices holozoic nutrition, that is, it feeds on diatoms and some algae and microorganisms like bacteria. It is a dimorphic form and exhibits alternation of generations in its life cycle. Now let us see the structure of Elphidium. Elphidium measures about 0.1 mm in diameter. That is, it is microscopic but can be visible to the naked eye due to the presence of the shell, which is about 3 to 4 mm in diameter. Elphidium consists of shell, cytoplasm and pseudopodia as its main parts in the body. Contractile vacuoles are absent. This is a specific feature of Elphidium. Now let us study the shell in detail. The shell is small, hard and translucent in nature. It is pale yellow in color. Its shape is either oval, round or biconcave, and it measures about 3 to 4 millimeters in diameter. The shell is made up of calcium carbonate. About 90% of the composition of the shell is calcium carbonate, and the remaining 10% consists of silica and magnesium sulfate and other minerals. The shell is it consists of many chambers. The shell is made up of many chambers. About 30 to 40 chambers are present, and hence the shell is called as polythalamus or multilocular shell. The shell is coiled in a plano-spiral manner, that is, all the coils lie in a flat spiral. They are in same plane. So this shell is perforated. The shell is perforated. That is, it consists of many small minute pores are present throughout the shell. The cytoplasm, it comes out of these pores, and each chamber, the cytoplasm is continuous, and the cytoplasm of one chamber, it mixes with the cytoplasm of the other chamber. That is, the cytoplasm is continuous because of the presence of the pores, and from these pores pseudopodia emerge out. The cytoplasm also extends to outside, forming the pseudopodia. Each chamber of the shell is elongated laterally, and its anterior surface is convex, and whereas the posterior surface is concave. The posterior concave surface consists of small processes called retiral processes. So there are some minute pores present in between the spaces of retiral processes, and from these pores they act as outdoors for the emergence of pseudopodia to outside. The shell consists of a continuous rim on the outer side, and this continuous rim on the outer side is called as shell keel. In the center of the shell there is a rounded region. This rounded region is called as umbo. This region is prominent due to the presence of due to the deposition of calcium carbonate. The formation of the shell begins with an initial chamber called proloculum. As the animal grows in size, new chambers are formed in a spiral manner, and these chambers form orals. The new chamber that is formed is always larger than the preceding one. Each new oral overlaps partially and conceals the preceding oral. Thus, only the last recently formed chamber, which is the largest, is only visible from outside. So, this is the terminal chamber that is visible from outside. The overlapping portions of the chambers, they are called as alar processes. The method where the previously formed the method of overlapping of the previously formed orals by the new orals is called as equitant. As the number of the chambers are increased, the size of the organism increases. All the shell chambers are filled with a mass of cytoplasm called inner cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is also present in a layer over the shell. So this cytoplasm is granular and gelatinous in nature. Due to the presence of the cytoplasm over the shell looks internal rather than external. The inner cytoplasm is also called as endoplasm, and the outer cytoplasm, this is the outer cytoplasm, this layer, this is called as ectoplasm. The endoplasm consists of nucleus or nuclei, food vacuoles, minute vacuoles, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, ribosomes, and color granules or xanthosomes are present. And then the nucleus, a single nucleus is present in the megalospheric form, while in the microspheric form many nuclei are present. The nucleus is vesicular and consists of many nucleoli which are embedded in the nucleoplasm. Next is about pseudopodia. The pseudopodia of Elphidium crispum are typical foraminiferan type. They are thread-like and branching, and they form a reticulum-like structure. Hence, these pseudopodia are called as reticulopodia or myxopodia. Each pseudopodium consists of two regions. One is the central axis and the other is the outer cortex. The cytoplasm moves in a streaming manner. It always circulates in a streaming manner. This is evident from the granules that flow in opposite directions. They flow in opposite directions. From this we can say that the cytoplasm always streams around the central axis. These reticulopodia can be withdrawn into the organism with lightning speed, and they can also be extended from the body to some extent in water like a little rocket. And these pseudopodia, they show wave-like movements like bending, undulation, quivering, and all these movements, with these movements, all the pseudopodia, they form a network-like structure hence they are called as myxopodia or reticulopodia. So these reticulopodia help the Alphidium in locomotion, nutrition, in the construction of the shell, and also the formation of cyst wall. If an organism exists in two forms, it is said to be dimorphic organism, and this phenomenon is called as dimorphism. Alphidium crispum exists in two forms. It is a dimorphic organism and it exists in two forms, namely megalospheric form and microspheric form. This image shows the megalospheric form and microspheric form. They resemble each other, but they have few differences. The megalospheric form has a large prolacculum. The prolacculum is large here, and it has a single nucleus. And the shell of the megalospheric form is thin. It is found in large quantities near its habitat. And the microspheric form, the prolacculum is small in the microspheric form, and it consists of many small nuclei. Nuclei are more in number and they are small in size. Each nucleus, it consists of many nucleoli, and the nucleoplasm is in large quantity. Hence, this nucleus is called as reservoir nucleus. Now, let us see about locomotion in Alphidium crispum. The locomotion takes place with the help of pseudopodia. The pseudopodia in Alphidium, they are called as myxopodia or reticulopodia, as there are thread-like pseudopodia which branch and form a reticulum. Alphidium shows very slow creeping movements on the substratum where it is attached, whether it may be sand or mud or any seaweed. So, in the direction of the movement, it attaches to the substratum, and by the contraction of the distally placed pseudopodia, the body of the organism is moved forward or dragged forward. Thus, this Alphidium, it shows slow creeping movements and moves about 4 to 6 millimeters per hour. Now let us see about nutrition in Alphidium. Alphidium crispum is omnivorous organism. It is typically holozoic. It feeds on small protozoans, crustacean larvae, rotifers, algae, some microorganisms like bacteria. The reticulopodia help in nutrition. They are thought to secrete an external mucus layer over their surface, which helps in capturing the food organisms. As soon as the food organisms are taken or captured, digestion starts. The digestion occurs with the help of the proteolytic secretions that are present in the mucus layer. These proteolytic enzymes, they break down the food materials, and the food is enclosed in food vacuoles. Thus, those vacuoles are taken into the endoplasm with the help of the withdrawing of the reticulopodial filaments into the interior of the body. Almost digestion takes place outside the cell, that is in the pseudopodial region, and the digested food is absorbed into the endoplasm. The undigested food is removed, is adjusted with the help of the food vacuoles called residual vacuoles. Respiration occurs in Elphidium through diffusion as in other protozoans. The semi-permeable membrane of the cell allows the oxygen to enter into the body. With the help of oxygen, oxidation of the food materials occur and the end products released, that those are the carbon dioxide and water, are released out from the body through the semi-permeable membrane with the process of diffusion. Next is osmoregulation. Elphidium is marine organism. The concentration of the cytoplasm is similar to that of the surroundings, that is sea water. Hence, water does not enter from the surroundings into the body of Elphidium, that is endosmosis does not occur. Due to this, any mechanism, any osmoregulatory mechanism is absent in Elphidium and contractile vacuole is absent. Next is the excretion in Elphidium. Due to the carbohydrate and protein metabolism, metabolic wastes are produced in the organism. So these nitrogenous wastes are released out from the body with the help of diffusion. With the intake of diatoms, some granules are formed. Red, brown and yellow granules are formed, and these are eliminated from the body through diffusion or by retraction of the reticulopodia. Now let us see about reproduction in Elphidium. Elphidium actually exhibits the two distinct forms. They exhibit sexual dimorphism. Reproduction occurs in the microspheric form, is also called as agamont, and it reproduces asexually. Microspheric form is a asexual phase and it reproduces by multiple fission. And the megalospheric form, it is a sexual phase and it reproduces sexually by a method called isogamy. Megalospheric form is also called as gamete. It reproduces sexually and produces gametes. So the gametes unite in pairs and form zygotes. So in Elphidium, there is a clear, distinct phenomenon of alternation of generations between the sexual phase and asexual phase. According to Zipf, in the life cycle, the asexual and sexual phase, they alternate each other, and this takes about 2 years. Now let us see about reproduction and life history of Elphidium. First is the sexual phase or gamogony. Megalospheric form is a sexual phase. It is quite larger than the microspheric form, and the embryonic chamber proloculum is large and there is a single nucleus. It remains uninucleate throughout its life. So this sexual megalospheric form, it with the help of isogamy, it undergoes sexual reproduction. The nucleus of this megalospheric form divides by repeated mitotic divisions, and later on the entire cytoplasm is divided into fragments, and each cytoplasmic fragment, it surrounds a nucleus and forms the gametes. So these gametes, they later on they possess the flagellae, and each they organize into gametes. The cytoplasmic fragment along with the nucleus organizes into a gamete. So each gamete consists of a nucleus surrounded by some cytoplasm. It consists of two flagella and a large flat globule. So these are called as isogametes or biflagellate gametes. The gametes are released into surrounding seawater through the pores present in the shell. With the help of the motile flagellae, they swim freely for about some time, and they change their shape. They become conical in shape. And the isogametes from another gamete unite with the isogametes of the other gamete. That is, the isogametes of two different gametes unite to form the zygotes. The zygotes form are diploid, and the type of reproduction here, it is called as isogamy, because the gametes are equal in size and shape. The gametes that are produced from different gametes are equal in size and shape. So the fusion of such gametes is called as isogamy, and those gametes are called as isogametes. Now let us see about the asexual phase or agamogony. Asexual phase is called as agamont. So here, as a result of the isogamy, from the megalospheric form, a zygote is formed. So this zygote is a diploid zygote, and this zygote during its development, it develops the shell around a small embryonic proloculum. That is the initial chamber. The shell is developed, and the diploid zygote undergoes first meiotic division, and later it divides mitotically and thus produces number of haploid nuclei. With the further growth and development, many chambers are added successively, and it grows into multilocular microspheric form. Multinucleate multilocular microspheric form. So this form is now it is called as agamont or asexual phase. So this gamont, it is also called as zygote. The nuclei are found in all chambers of the microspheric form, and they are surrounded by chromatidial granules. The formation of the microspheric forms is rare because due to the remote chances of the fusion of gametes. The agamont reproduces asexually by a multiple fission called as zygogony. The entire cytoplasm that is present within the shell Along with nuclei, it creeps out of the shell and forms a lump around on the surface of the shell. And this lump then organizes into a single nucleate cells. A single nucleus is surrounded by some certain amount of cytoplasm and transforms into small cell-like structures, amoeba-like cells. They are called as amoebulae or agametes. A gamete becomes detached from the parent shell and it becomes to develop and it starts developing into a megalospheric form. The detached agamete secretes a shell around a large proloculum and transforms into a young megalospheric form or gamete. The new additional chambers are added and it transforms into uninucleate multilocular form. That is the adult, it transforms into adult megalospheric form or gamete. Now let us see the economic importance of Elphidium. The shells of the Elphidium, which are specifically formed at different regions at different temperatures and on the surface of the waters and at the bottom of the waters, help in understanding the atmosphere of the past geological periods.